Good morning, everyone, and Boker Tov. Welcome to Sinai Temple on this beautiful Tuesday morning. We have arrived for our Parasha class at the end, believe it or not, of the book of Exodus, the second of the 5 books in our Sefer Torah. And Parashat Pekudei is this final parasha. And usually we'll have Vayakhel and Pekudei separate, but depending on the scope of the Jewish year and leap years and how the parashiot fall, this year they happen to be separate. So we're going to focus on just Pekudei. And it serves as a kind of bookend to the journey that began with Israel's slavery in Egypt. And on the surface, it might seem dry. It's filled with lists and measurements and inventories, but it offers us a rich opportunity to reflect on how sacred purpose, accountability, and beauty all come together to create a holy community. In Hebrew, pekudei means accountings or records. The Parsha opens with a detailed report of the materials used in the construction of the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary. Every ounce of gold, silver, and copper is tallied. Every fabric, gem, and donation is accounted for. And from that, a lesson emerges. Not just about budgets and transparency, that's obviously important, but more importantly about responsibility, participation, and the holiness that comes when we treat every contribution as sacred. The Mishkan was not just a physical structure. It was a spiritual journey. It marked the people's evolution from slaves, building for Pharaoh, to free individuals, building for God. The act of construction became an act of transformation. And in this final parasha of Exodus, we see a full circle moment. A people once mired in despair, now elevated by collective purpose. Rav Kook writes that the building of the Mishkan represents the unification of all facets of life towards divine service. Just as each tribe contributed different resources and skills, so too must we understand that community is built not through uniformity, but through diversity brought into harmony. Pekudei, then, is not a conclusion, but it's an invitation to reflect on how we build holiness with intention, collaboration, and integrity. The parasha begins, Ele pekudei hamishkan, mishkan ha'edut asher pukad al pi Moshe, avodat halvi'im beyad Itamar ben Aharon HaKohen. These are the records of the tabernacle of the pact, which were drawn up at Moses' bidding, the work of the Levites under the direction of Itamar, son of Aaron the priest. The word Mishkan, if you noticed, was repeated. And Rashi suggests that this repetition alludes to the future destruction of the two Batei HaMikdash, the two temples, linking accountability to the consequences of sin. But there's another layer here. Repetition is emphasis. This was no ordinary tent. It was the Mishkan, the meeting place between heaven and earth. The Midrash Tanhuma teaches that Moses provided this detailed accounting not because of suspicion, but to model integrity. Even Moses understood that transparency is not optional. It's sacred. Leadership at its core must be accountable. The Vilna Gaon echoes this. A community's spiritual health relies on the trustworthiness of its leaders. Moses didn't wait for the people to question him. He preemptively offered a full report. This level of transparency communicates that leadership is not a license for personal freedom, but a call to higher responsibility. The Torah models ethical governance thousands of years before modern standards of accountability were written into law. The Ramban, Nachmanides, adds that the accounting wasn't only administrative, it was spiritual. Each item was infused with kavanah, a spiritual sacred intent. The people weren't just donating objects. They were pouring their hearts into the Mishkan. The tali becomes a liturgical expression of devotion. The Sforno expands this further, teaching that the collective unity of the people could only be achieved when everyone felt that their contribution was seen, valued, and counted. The Talmud in Yoma 38a emphasizes, one who is trusted must be beyond suspicion. This echoes in today's world, where so many institutions have eroded public trust. Moses sets the example. Accountability isn't reactive, it's proactive. It's a sacred trust, a covenant between leaders and the people they serve. This becomes a call to modern Jewish life. Are we honoring every contribution? Are we fostering spaces where volunteers feel seen? The Torah's notion of accountability stretches beyond finances to time, attention, and kindness. Like Moses, we must model trust by being trustworthy. And like the Mishkan, our communities must be built on foundations of honesty and sacred intention. Parshat Pekudei spends significant time describing the aesthetics of the Mishkan, the richly colored fabrics, the intricate garments of the priests, the polished silver and the gold. Why such detail? The Midrash in Shemot Rabbah 48:8 teaches that just as God created the world with beauty and purpose, so too must we reflect that beauty in the space and the spaces where we honor God. The artisans of the Mishkan were divinely inspired. Their work wasn't utilitarian, it was spiritual. Betzalel and Oholiab, the master artisans, weren't merely craftsmen. They were artists of the spirit. The Torah says that they were filled with chokhmat lev, or wisdom of the heart. That's a profound concept. True artistry requires not just skill, but soul. In Judaism, aesthetics are not frivolous. They are vehicles for encountering the sacred. The Rambam, Maimonides, explains in Guide for the Perplexed that beauty in a space lifts the soul and invites reverence. Beauty can be a spiritual experience. This applies not only to architecture, but to the way we set a Shabbat table, or decorate a sukkah, or prepare for a Passover Seder. The details matter because they reflect kavod, honor for God, community, and our tradition. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory once wrote, "Art in Judaism is not escapism, it's elevation." The Mishkan teaches that artistry and spirituality go hand in hand. This past weekend, my family and I had the honor of attending and helping to lead our STARS, our Sinai Temple Religious School Shabbaton at Camp Ramah. I saw this beauty of artistry and spirituality embodied in our children when they were creating beautiful Jewish art, singing songs, and praying with joy. In these moments, they were not just participants in a retreat, but they were builders of a Mishkan in time. The Zohar goes further. God desires to dwell in beauty. Beauty is not extra, it's essential. The attention to color, texture, and form elevates our consciousness and prepares us to receive the divine. In every Jewish home, we are invited to create mini mishkans, places where beauty fosters kedusha, holiness. A challah cover, lovingly embroidered, a family heirloom kiddush cup, a child's hand-drawn Shabbat candle picture. These are vessels for the sacred. After the work is completed, the Torah says that Moses saw all of the work, and behold, they had done all of it as the Lord had commanded, and Moses blessed them. Exodus 39:43. This single verse captures a model of humble leadership. Moses observes, he affirms, and he blesses. He does not critique. He does not insert himself. He celebrates the people's work. Rashi comments that Moses' blessing invoked the Shekhinah to rest upon their efforts. His words were not perfunctory. They were transformative. The blessing was a bridge from human labor to divine indwelling. The Sforno notes that Moses didn't change or correct anything. He trusted the people. The Netziv adds that his blessing wasn't just a thank you. It was a spiritual endorsement, a signal that the community had achieved something sacred. This is a rare model of leadership, one that empowers rather than controls. In our own leadership roles as clergy, parents, teachers, or community members, we must learn when to step back, to bless, and to trust. This past weekend at Camp Ramah, I witnessed that kind of leadership. I saw young counselors, some of who I had once mentored for their B'nai Mitzvah, now guiding others. They didn't need micromanagement. They had absorbed the values and they knew what to do. Like Moses, I felt tremendous pride and offered my own silent blessings. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs once noted, "A leader is not one who leads people to follow them, but one who leads people to follow themselves." Moses exemplified this. He handed over the sacred work and stood in awe of what the people had achieved. The Parasha reaches its climax with a scene of sublime beauty. In Exodus 40, verse 34, it says, "Vayachas Ha'anan et ohel moed, uchvod Adonai maleh et hamishkan." Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Adonai, the glory of God, filled the Mishkan. This is more than a dramatic ending. It's a moment of healing. After the sin of the golden calf, after the heartbreak and repentance, this is the ultimate restoration of trust. God returns. Rashi says the cloud was a sign of divine approval. The Shekhinah came not to a perfect people, but to a people who had grown. They had learned, contributed, repented, and created. The Or HaChaim notes that the dual imagery of cloud and fire represents the duality of divine presence, concealed and revealed, comforting and awe-inspiring. The divine does not overpower. It envelops. The Slonimer Rebbe wrote that the Shekhinah only rests where there is unity among the people. It was not the gold, silver, or architecture that summoned God's presence. It was the oneness of heart. We are told in Exodus 40:38, "Ki anan Adonai al mishkan yomam ve'esh tihyeh laila bo le'enei chol beit Yisrael bechol mas'ehem." For the tabernacle, a cloud of the Lord rested by day, and a fire would appear in it by night, in the view of all the house of Israel through their journeys. This is a spiritual promise. God journeys with us through darkness and light. At Ramah, I saw that promise come alive. In laughter, in prayer, in the exhaustion of joyful Shabbat celebration, God was there. Not in grand miracles, but in presence. Zooming out, we see that Pekudei offers a blueprint for holy community. Number one, accountability. Every offering counts and is respected. Number two, beauty. Aesthetic devotion uplifts the soul. Number three, leadership. Trust and empowering others. Number 4, presence. Let God in by preparing a space worthy of the divine. The Kotzker Rebbe taught, where is God to be found? Wherever we let God in. That's not poetic idealism. It's practical theology. Pekudei challenges every community to look inward. Are we building with sacred purpose? Are we elevating the work of others? Are we preparing a space physically and spiritually where holiness can dwell? Rabbi Yitz Greenberg teaches that community is the modern Mishkan. And the standard is not perfection, it's intention. If we aim to build a community where each person feels counted, then we create a home where God dwells. The Mishkan of our time is not made of crimson yarn or golden beams. It's built from the love that we show, the trust we foster, and the moments we elevate. At Camp Ramah, we didn't have a menorah of pure gold, but we had kids who sang with abandon, parents who danced despite their exhaustion, and counselors who led with integrity. That was our Mishkan. In Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, verse 5, Hillel says, Al tifrosh min hatzibur. Do not separate yourself from the community. This is not just about belonging. It's about building. Every act of kindness is a stitch in the fabric of our Mishkan. Each of us has the tools. Generosity is our gold. Compassion is our crimson. And presence is our foundation. We are the architects of our sacred community. Parasha Pekudei closes the book of Exodus not with thunder, but with presence. It's the gentle moment when a people once lost became found through purpose. May we build sanctuaries not only of wood and stone, but of trust and vision. May we, like Moses, be accountable and humble. And may the fire and the cloud guide us always. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and may we strengthen one another. I wish you all a wonderful morning, a blessed day, and a beautiful week ahead. Thank you.